Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast here on the GSMC Sports Network, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about the Houston Astros and their recent pitching injuries. But before we do that, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers. To ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so moving into our second segment, as I talked about, it is going to be the Astros and their pitching injuries, going over that. It was announced today by the Astros that both Christian Javier and José Urquidy will be undergoing elbow surgery. We're not exactly sure if it's Tommy John or just a separate elbow surgery, kind of one like Spencer Strider had, which is still significant, but not as significant as Tommy John, of course. Now, I'd say these are pretty big losses for the Astros right now. Urquidy kind of less than Javier, as Urquidy had not pitched for the Astros this year, but when healthy is still a big part of this Astros team and this Astros rotation. Brings a lot of value as a starting pitcher to them and just is a really good piece. Javier also is, of course, a great pitcher for them. He has pitched this year, but has been on the injured list for a month with a separate injury. But a lot of Astros fans kind of knew something wasn't right with all the setbacks that were happening. And it was announced today that he is officially going to be having elbow surgery. So kind of unfortunate there. But yeah, I mean, when you look at this Astros team, and I talked about this yesterday as well, I had a segment, this kind of happened today, so I didn't really expect to be talking about them again. But yeah, when you look at this Astros team, I mean, the underperformance and just all the ways that they have really not played up to standard this year, I think it ties back to one thing, and that is the pitching, and specifically the pitching injuries. When you look at all the guys they have in this injured list, I think it makes a lot of sense why they are where they are, and the reason they are underperforming so much right now. I mean, of course, Javier and Urquidy are at the top of the list now, but you didn't have Lance McCullers this year. You don't have Luis Garcia this year. Justin Verlander was hurt to start the year. And you have also Hunter Brown, who was also pitching pretty horrible for most of the year. I think he has picked it up a little bit recently, but not exactly sure. But overall, when you also have guys pitching like Spencer Urquidy, who also came out of the game yesterday for an injury himself, that was more of a freak injury, as he was hit with a 107-mile-per-hour comebacker, so that's just more of a stinging kind of thing, kind of more of just a lot of pain for a week, not a real long-term thing, because getting hit by a comebacker is not the same thing as getting an elbow injury or tearing something, so obviously that's a different situation. But when you have these guys pitching, when you have these guys making consistent starts for you, it's very, very unfortunate for your team, because it is going to impact you a lot, and you aren't going to have the greatest players out there on the field. I think that when you're looking at this Astros team and the way they have underperformed, being around 7 games under 500 and being third in this AL West, it's very clear why, and it's because of the pitching. Justin Verlander has performed very well, give him credit there, but he can't carry the rotation all by himself. I mean, when you're having guys like Urquidy make consistent starts, and some other guys in this rotation as well, they're not the best. I mean, Framber Valdez has been solid, but definitely not exactly what you want him to be when all these guys are getting injured. You can't do it by yourself, and the Astros have gone unlucky with all the injuries they've happened this year, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens the rest of the year with them. I mean, as I talked about yesterday, the GM of them, Dana Brown, said, we're not selling. Under any circumstances, we are not selling. We are buyers at the deadline. And I talked about that, and I kind of said, I don't know if I agree with that, and I don't know if I believe you. You're telling me the Astros, with all these injuries, are still 7 games under 500, July 30th, July 31st, are not looking to trade Alex Bregman. They're not looking to trade Justin Verlander, not looking to trade Ryan Presley. You're telling me you're not going to be fielding offers on these guys that have 1 year left in their contract, and you probably won't bring back in free agency. That's what you're going to tell me? I don't know if I believe that, because it just doesn't make any sense, and you're a smart run organization. Now maybe Jim Crane would have to put his pride away a little bit and say, okay, this team isn't it. We're going to go for it next year. We still have a good young core. We know there's been some questions about that, but still, I think that overall there are a lot of questions to answer about this Astros team, and with these pitching injuries that keep happening, it really isn't helping. So overall, I think that it's going to be interesting to watch them the rest of the year. And looking at the rest of the AL West, you of course have the Angels and the A's, who are not great. I mean, I don't really think they are exactly threats to overtake the Astros in the AL West and go into third. But above them is the Rangers, who I think are a very good team and right now are better than them. They, of course, have a great hitting core, but also are getting pitchers back like Jacob deGrom, like Tyler Mahle, like Max Scherzer in the second half. How effective will they be? We're not sure, but they're still better than what they have, I think, and it's kind of like adding these guys to the trade deadline, quote-unquote. I hate when GMs use that excuse, but I'm saying it here now. So I think that overall the Rangers are better, and there's a lot going for them right now. Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford haven't even stepped up yet. I mean, both have been injured. Evan Carter's currently injured. Both haven't played to their standards, and I think once they do, that'll make this team a lot better as well. You have, of course, the Mariners, who I don't know if they're really, like, far and away the best team in the AL West, but they've been really, really good this year as well. So they're first for a reason. I think they're a good team. Julio Rodriguez hasn't even gotten going yet, so once he gets it going, I think they'll be better. They've added a lot of good hitting to this team that has a really good pitching core, so that's a positive there as well. So I think that overall there are a lot of good teams in this AL West, and there's a lot of good teams in the AL in general. When you're fighting for one spot out of 6, I mean, we already know 4 spots are taken. Okay? Well, actually, I should say 3. We already know 3 spots are taken, and that is whoever wins the AL Central, and then the Yankees and the Orioles. We know the Yankees and the Orioles are going to make it, then whoever wins the AL Central. After that, you have 3 spots left, and you'd have to overcome 2 out of 3 of the Guardians, Twins, and Royals. You'd have to overcome the Red Sox, who are doing well, the Blue Jays and Rays, who aren't, but still have a lot of talent. You'd have to either win the AL West and take out the Rangers or the Mariners, or beat one of those teams out in a wild card race and get into second place in the AL West. And with where they are right now, and with where the injuries for this team are right now, I'm not sure if that can happen, and I'm not sure if that's possible. So when you're looking at the future of the league, and you're looking at the future of this year, selling at the deadline, if it comes to it, makes a lot of sense. And there's a tough road for the Astros for the rest of the year, and these pitching injuries aren't helping, and there's a lot of questions to answer, and I'm very, very interested to see what does end up happening. And let's say they do flip the deadline. Are they blowing it up for this year, or are they really going into a rebuild? I mean, Framber Valdez, Kyle Tucker, they got a year and a half left on those deals. If you're selling at the deadline, you can shop both of them, and believe me, you'll get a franchise-changing prospect haul. As I talked about Ethan Salas before for the Padres, that's someone you can get for Kyle Tucker. And I'm sure the Padres would love to trade for a left fielder. I'm sure the Phillies would love to trade one of their top prospects like Andrew Painter for a left fielder. There's a lot of teams that'll be lining up for Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker, 2 genuine all-stars, a top 20 pitcher in this league, probably a top 30 player in this league in Kyle Tucker. That would be very, very interesting. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, I think, for the Astros. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the day-to-day of this team, how they do end up performing for the rest of the year. I am very interested and very intrigued to see what does end up happening with them for the rest of this year. So that is the end of our second segment here, talking about the Houston Astros and their recent pitching injuries. We'll be moving into our third segment, which is going to be talking about the Kansas City Royals and the possibility that they go look on the trade market for a bullpen piece. So yeah, we'll be talking about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports